writing, the Holy Spirit just said, you do it anyway. So he wrote him and told him he loved him and never mentioned what the man had said about him, and enclosed $100 and sent it to him. 13 years later went by. Telephone rang. Handed it to John Osteen at his house. Somehow he had the number. And the man said, this is so-and-so, and I live across the ocean in England, and I've got to see you. I'm flying specifically to see you. And he said, meet me at the hotel, at the airport restaurant. And so John said, I got there, and I met the man who flew across the ocean to meet me. And he said, when we sat down at a table, the first thing the man did, he threw himself across that table, and he began to cry. He wept, and his shoulders were just heaving like this. Finally, Brother Osteen said, 13 years had gone by. I had really forgotten the whole incident. And John said, my brother, what's wrong? What is it? What can I do to help you? And he said he reached in his lapel pocket, and he pulled out that letter that John wrote to him. And he said, it's that letter. 13 years I've been carrying that letter around with me. I told lies about your ministry because I was jealous. And all of these years I've carried that letter that you sent me, and even the offering. Will you forgive me where I can get rid of this guilt? And John Osteen said, I looked at that man and I said, I forgave you 13 years ago, and you've been living under it all of these years. Now I want to tell you something, what this evangelist truly believes. I believe the obvious, the elephant that is in the room, has been ignored. I remember preaching a meeting one time, and this woman came to the service, and I was preaching that night on forgiveness. That night she came up to me and she said, but you don't understand what I've been through. And out the door she went. That woman, what I did not know during the course of that meeting, would come to church, even dance around, do the charismatic shuffle. And then she would go, and she would go by the graveyard where her dead husband would lay. And she said, when I would go by the graveyard, I would curse my husband laying in that grave. I'd call him every name in the book. Because 20 years prior, he had run off with somebody, and then he was killed. And now he's been in that grave for 20 years, left me with the children to raise them. And all of these years, I've carried that in my spirit.